Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be adding in the features now. These are just going to be similar to what I did in the previous adding features video with the front view, so it will look similar to him. Unless I change my mind and feel like I want to go for more of a happier or cuter kind of style, but I guess for now, because his face is more chiseled, I will go for a more serious look. So the process is still the same. You still want to make sure that when you are drawing your eyes, let's start with the eyes. That they're not too close or not too far. So you want to make sure that the eyes are about one eye distance apart. So let me just go ahead and just draw the right eye for a little bit. I would say don't push it all the way to the edge. Leave some room and leave some room down here as well. So let's take these two measurements, or this measurement, and then just put it here around roughly, and then just make a little mark up here. So that is approximately one eye length apart. So once again, I'm just thickening the eyes. Don't make them super straight. I know I'm kind of making it straight, but I'm kind of angling it down when I reach the front. So let me go ahead and zoom in really quick. I think that looks good. Let's see if it's zooming in. Let me go back. I don't know if it's zooming in or not. I think this is okay. So now I'm going to be just drawing the eyelid on top, and then the eyebrow right around the the lines. So this is just a guide on exactly how far you want to put your eyebrow or anything like that. So now let's put in the pupil, and let's put the bottom of the eye. Make sure it's not too far. Make sure it's just enough that it reaches, these kind of connect almost. Let's draw a pupil and shade the top part. Now let's do the other side, to kind of just make sure that they're all in the same direction. Leave some room on the other side. And once this looks, pretty good compared to the other one, then you're good to start detailing. But let me go ahead and just draw in the eyelid real quick. So I think that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to tilt this down more just a little bit because it looks a little bit too straight. But once again, it's just adjusting and making sure that everything looks pretty much very similar. If it doesn't look similar, you just need more practice. Don't worry about it. It takes time to get it, and especially because it's traditional, it's a lot harder. If this were digital, I would have just copy and pasted this eye and just flipped it to the next. But I'm not doing that. I only do that just because I know how to draw the other side and make it look pretty decent, where I can use that as kind of like a little shortcut. But I suggest that if you're a beginner, don't do that. I know I may do that sometimes when it comes to the other courses, but that's because I want to save some time and not draw the other side so much. So you can see that just by looking at it from side to side, looks pretty similar. Let's add the bottom. And then let's add the eyebrows at the eyebrow line. Now notice that I made the nose look a little bit too low, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just adjust it. And I made the eyes a bit too low, not the eyes, the mouth a bit too low as well. So I would say up here and up here is good. So as we mentioned earlier, we have a more sturdier nose looks better. So rather than a dot, I like to add the sides of the nose here. And I like to add the nostril on this side. I also like to add a little bit of angles, around the cheekbone area where it kind of escapes out from the eye socket, and that's just for a broader look. If you want, you could also get gloves, for your hand, because I know that when I'm drawing, I kind of smudge a little bit. So getting gloves would reduce your smudging. Do not smudge when you're shading, though, because that just looks kind of terrible. I know a lot of people, when they first draw anime, they just smudge and use that as shading, but that doesn't look good just because you just don't know what you're doing, and it looks blotchy, and it just does not look good. So refrain from doing that. Instead, just use hatching, or just use a pencil to shade rather than your smudging. You can do smudging at some cases, but I would prefer not to on most cases. if I want a softer accent, I could use like a little paper towel and just smudge that just a little bit, but not your fingers because your fingers have oil in it. So it'll look really bad. So now we can add in the mouth, and I'm not going to do much other than just adding 2 little lines because I don't want it to be a statement. I want it to just be indicated. I can add in the ears. The ears kind of start from the bottom of the base of the nose to about the base of the, or the beginning of the eyes, or the eyebrow. But I would say about here is good. You don't have to, worry too much about the detail of the ears. Ears can just come by later. I'm just kind of simplifying it here. All right, so that is our front view features. Now let's go ahead and add our features for our side view, and it's the same process. We're going to jut this out for our eyebrow ridge, and we're going to go ahead and concave, tuck that in. And then from here, we have our nose, which juts out. So notice it's close to the nose line here. Of course, everything can be adjusted, so don't worry about it. And from here, we have our mouth. Now, you don't have to draw in the lips like this, like that. It's a bit harder that way. So instead, what you guys can do is draw in the top lip. Make sure it's not right at the corner. Make sure it's a little bit, behind the nose here rather than right at the edgeboard ends. So notice that there's a line in front, and my line is over on top. So I like to add in the first lip and then flatten out the rest. Now I'm going to lengthen this face a little bit because it just does not look very good here. So I'm going to lower his chin a little bit. I'm going to just kind of make his jaw a little bit steeper. So notice how I'm just doing some fixes here and there. I'm not panicking. I'm just kind of just fixing what I feel needs more improvement. In fact, I feel like this needs to actually be more inward, like so, because I don't want the face to look too straight. I want it to look a little bit tilted and adjusted in a little bit tilted, and then the chin can kind of go out. Here's the Adam's apple. And here's the neck. But yeah. So here's the side view, pretty much almost done. Here we can add in our eyebrow and make sure it's not full length. It's a side view. So we want to make sure that this is thick and then it's in shortly, because that's our brow ridge. We're looking at it from a different side. So it's not going to be the same size as this one here. In fact, I'm actually going to put this a little bit lower. This looks a little bit high. There, that looks better. So if you notice I looked a little bit high, just adjust it properly. So here we have our eyebrow ridge. Here we have our eye, and our eye is not full length. It's more like thick on the top and then thin at the bottom, and a little bit squished. Here we have our eye. And notice that's more like a slit. And here we have our mouth. This is when I like to add a bottom lip, but you don't have to if that's a little bit difficult, but it's up to you. Once again, indicating the mouth. Our ear. We have our earlobe on the outside, our concave area here, and just indicate it like so, and you're good. So that is your side view. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can see what this looks like. So far, so good. Then here we have our 3/4 view, which will be the same process. Here we have the bridge of our nose, which is kind of like a little triangular piece. You can only see it during the 3/4 view because that's where it's kind of turning. So there's a little bit of a triangular bridge here. And from here we can add our nose, which will be more of like a mix of a side view and a front view. So I'm adding a little bit of the side here. And then we have the nostril. So by noticing that, you can kind of also get where the eye would be placed. So let's do the eyebrows first. Eyebrows kind of happen after the nose and kind of trace around. Notice I'm making it thick to thin and caving it out, or not curving, I'm tapering it out from here. And notice that when it comes to the other side, I'm making it a little bit shorter. It's not the same length. It's kind of just squished. Once again, eyes. On the other side, eyes are a little bit trickier. You just got to make sure that it's not fully, it's more like a rotated sphere. So you want to make sure it kind of ends and maybe even kind of pop out with a little bit of eyelash or two. And make sure it's rounded. And then here we have the pupils. So everything is just kind of just shifted a little bit. Make sure you don't cross their eyes by making their eyes look too centered. Make sure this other eye here has a little bit more breathing room. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to erase this one because that one looks kind of bad. And shift that more to the side here. Don't forget the eyelid. So by doing that, it makes it look less cross-eyed. Here I have the mouth. You can erase these little areas here if you want. They don't really matter when it comes to anime all that much. If you want to add a little bit of an indication, you can add these little dots here. Here we have the simplification of the ear. So that is a 3/4 view with features. We're almost done here. So when it comes to the back view, you don't really need to do too much other than add a little bit of a nose at the end, and a little bit of the eyebrow, and a little bit of the eyelash, and that's it. You don't have to do too much. When it comes to the upper view, notice that when it comes to the nose, it's going to be a little bit more raised up. You're going to see the bottom side of the nose this time. So add the nostril from below. Here we have our eyebrow ridge and our cheekbone hanging out. And then our brow is going to be more facing upward. By that you can kind of see it rotating more than making it more straight. When it comes to the eyes, make it more rotated and curved because you're looking up at it and it's a curved surface. Add in the eyes. And if you want to draw the mouth slightly open as well, you can do that by drawing in making kind of like a slanted trapezoid. If this looks a little bit too high, you can always adjust. I'm going to adjust it a little bit. Adjusting always happens when you notice that the chin area looks too flat or looks too long. So notice how I'm actually drawing the chin and connecting that to the jawline, and then seeing a little bit of that bottom of the chin here. So that's when his head kind of turns upward. Of course, erase your little cross lines or your center lines because you don't really need that as much anymore. And last but not least, we have our quarter downward view, which is pretty simple as well. You know, just draw in the triangle. Notice how the triangle kind of differs on different on angles. In this case, the nostril will be facing downward because we're looking down at it. Here's our eyebrow ridge, here's our cheekbone, and then here's a little bit of our chin. And then we can erase, some of these areas here just to make it less messy. And get out of the brows. Notice how it's more angular this time because it's facing downward. And notice how the eyes are going to be more facing downward as well. You'll see more of the the eyelid more clearly rather than straight ahead. And for the bottom part, you want to make sure that that's round because it's more of like a round surface. If you want him to look down a little bit, make sure you place his pupils a little bit lower. And his mouth. And then here we have his ear. And you're pretty much good for the features. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys to understand how to draw features in different views. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.